Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to day 23 of my August challenge. We are so close to being done with this challenge, which is crazy, but if you are just popping in or if you're wondering what's going on, I'll have some links in my description box that have kind of outlined this entire challenge that we've been running throughout the month of August. But we are on day 23, and I think 23 is a really tough day. What I have on the calendar for today is to forgive yourself, and that can be any way that you want to interpret it, from something maybe a little bit smaller that you want to forgive yourself for up to something fairly large. I'm a very firm believer in that we all make mistakes. Humans are going to make mistakes, and that's just how it rolls. I actually did a Facebook interview the other day for another book blogger. So I'm also an author, and our interview was really focused along my books and inspiration for writing and these different things. And we kind of got on the topic of some of my characters in my books are pretty unlikable characters, and especially we were talking about my book Defining Her, which was my 5th novel. And I was being asked, where did the inspiration come from? Why did you make these two characters how they are? And so I was talking about them, and I said, neither of these girls, neither of these women are very nice people. They have made some big mistakes in life. Have kind of like your bad girl who's come from a rough past. She's made a lot of bad decisions in her life. And then we have the good girl who's about to take the wrong path. So we have two very different women who have or will be doing some pretty bad things. And the reason why I wanted to write about both of them is because I find that to be relatable. We all make mistakes. What I find more fascinating about humans is not the mistakes that we make, but what we do after we have made the mistake. How do we try to right it? Do we try to right it? That's what I find more interesting. And it's been intriguing to me being in the social media orbit for 10 years now, and seeing other people who do similar things to me. And obviously when it comes to the beauty space, we've seen a lot of beauty bloggers make mistakes. We've seen them make public mistakes, we've seen them make private mistakes that have been taken public by other people, but we have seen a lot of people make mistakes. I have watched the internet completely tear people down because of their mistakes, but what I think is more interesting than that is to see what they do next. How do they do they let it define them? Do they hop back up, dust themselves off, and keep going? Do they get angry and try to place blame elsewhere? What do we do next after we make a mistake? Because it is going to happen. I have made so many mistakes in my 32 years. I have treated people badly. I've treated myself badly. I have made poor decisions. It just is what it is. That's what's going to happen. What's more defining to me than making your mistake is what you do afterwards and how you learn from it. So getting back onto the topic of forgiving yourself, I think that this one is challenging. It's been something that I have struggled with for such a long time. So this is one where I kind of really am going to be leaning on your comments today and seeing what you guys have to say, because I feel like I put this one on the calendar for myself, for me, because I know that this is something that I have to do, but I also know that it's something that I struggle with very greatly, is forgiving myself. So kind of how maybe I could best explain how I roll is that if I feel like maybe either someone is mad at me, or maybe I'm in a situation that isn't great, what I think is like, oh, this is karma coming back on me. That mistake that you made when you were 14 years old, this was happening right now when you're 32, that's your penance for what you did when you were 14, when you were 12, when you were 16. Like, that is how my mind works, and I wish that it didn't, because that means that I've never really truly forgiven myself for my past mistakes. I always feel like something is coming next to and that's my punishment for mistakes that I've made. So I have a really hard time forgiving myself and being able to move past my mistakes. So this is going to be a tough day for me. I don't know if I have a lot of advice to give, because like I just said, this is something that I struggle with. This is something that I put on the calendar that's a very deeply personal one for me, but I also do think that it is very important. We see a lot, we hear a lot, you know, I read a lot of like nonfiction books, and I listen to podcasts and self-help and all of that, and I hear a ton about making sure that we forgive ourselves. We can't continually just beat ourselves up for mistakes that we've made. We have to grow from them, and we have to keep going. And I feel like that's what mistakes are. They're growth opportunities. I truly have to believe that. But that also means that I do have to forgive myself. I do have to see, okay, you made this mistake, but look what you did next. All right, you messed up at this point in your life, but look what you did next. Look what came from it. Look at the uncomfortable conversations that you had along the way after you make a mistake. Look at the, just look at the way that you dusted yourself off and was like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that again, and this is why, and this is how I'm moving forward from it. That's what I have to remember for today's challenge. So this is a hard one for me. I definitely feel like I have a lot in my life that I could forgive myself for. I feel like I have a lot in my life that I still hold on to, that I still, you know, slap myself on the wrist for it and think, shame on you. Like, how dare you do that? But I do believe that forgiving yourself is a big one. So this is going to be a tough one for me, but I'm really curious to get your comments. Is this something that you struggle with? Is this something that you feel like you can offer advice to? Because I am here and willing to take it and read your comments and see what you have to say. But yeah, day 23, we are almost all the way through. Day 23 is forgive yourself. I'm going to be really anxious to read your guys' comments today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in tomorrow's video.